Hello folks, it is Feels Friday, which means we are getting into some, shall we say, positive hobby content, or, a more gestalt hobby experience, rather than just focusing in on some hobby nightmares. We're jumping in and having a little look around at what you guys have to say about the hobby at large going forward. So, hopefully you're having a good day, hopefully you've had a good week, and if you are going to be working this weekend, thank you very, very, very much from the bottom of my heart for keeping the world going round whilst the rest of us have a little bit of a break. So, Benji is first today, and he says, Good day, North. Hi, man. I'm Benji. I'm writing in response to your podcast with the Outer Circle. Which one, man? There've been loads. Where you discussed the need for a genuine, passionate voice in the tabletop miniature hobby. Somebody like Angry Joe. Okay, alright, yeah. I'm also here to share my own frustrations with the hobby, which I suspect many others can relate to. Right, if you missed it, our last episode on Wednesday, or was it Tuesday? I think it was Tuesday, covered the fact that yes, we need reviewers in the hobby that are a lot more impartial and aren't in the pockets of the big corporations, a la Games Workshop and other people, for getting free stuff. But we also mentioned in that podcast that it is incredibly hard to do that in wargaming, right? Simply because, a game is worth, £30 to £60, and once you've got it, you've got it. Well, if you want to review an army, you're going to have to buy the entire army. If you want to review a box, you're going to have to buy that box, and it's a box that you may not even want. And it's a whole series of videos, from building the models, to painting the models, to them playing with the rules, right? To do a full review. So it's kind of hard to do, but we do think that there is a real, a gap in content on YouTube. And somebody like an Angry Joe would be able to come along and be that person who can actually review models and model sets. I'm not saying Angry Joe should literally do it. He's busy. I'm talking about a new YouTube channel who comes along who can do it. Anyway, one key point I'd like to address is the passionate voice reviewing products. For me, this is a bit of a catch-22. A passionate reviewer is someone often who's been priced out of the hobby and desperately wants to be a part of it again. They're passionate because they once loved it but can no longer afford it. This isn't just a Warhammer issue, the problem extends to various supplies and even 3D printing, which has its own set of challenges. Despite what some hobbyists claim, 3D printing isn't the silver bullet that will save the day. I agree, there are lots of problems with 3D printing. There may come a time in future when a lot of the starting costs and a lot of the starting headaches of getting a 3D printer and the dangers of owning a 3D printer will be mitigated, but right now, you need a lot of technical know-how, you need some money behind you to go and buy it, and you need to be able to take a loss. If you can afford to take a loss of like £500, you can get yourself a 3D printer. But in this day and age, there's not a lot of people who can afford to do that, right? Because you don't know the results that you're going to get. You don't. Your first couple of prints on a 3D printer will look appalling. They will not be very good. It isn't a case of just setting up your 3D printer and printing out models, you know what I mean? It's an art form, it's a technique, it's a discipline, alright? You're not buying a computer that just works when you switch it on. You're buying a specialist piece of equipment that takes skill to operate, okay? My point is that the hobby needs a voice that's genuinely frustrated and willing to speak the truth to power. Someone who's not afraid to say that the biggest problem with the hobby is the hobbyists themselves a lot of the time. I'm sure many of you, including in your circle, are nodding in agreement thinking, he's got a point, he's right. Yeah. But here's the thing. Those same people will still flock to the website and stores lining the pockets of companies that don't care about them. Well, maybe they just want Warhammer models, man. Alright, I think you're misconstruing the fact that some people just like buying models with wanting to support Games Workshop. Or similar massive corporations, do you know what I mean? I don't know. They'll continue to cling to the delusional hope that if only these companies would listen to their consumers, everything would be okay. But let's be real, that's never going to happen. I agree with that part. No doubt many in the crowd will offer a plethora of solutions, but I'd like to ask them a simple question. If these solutions are so effective, Why do the same problems persist? In my opinion, we're focusing on the wrong part of the equation. Instead of pointing fingers at the companies, we need to take a hard look at our own role in enabling their behaviour. We need to acknowledge that the reason for these companies and the reason that they get away with these things and their stunts is because we as consumers allow them to do so. Some might say, just vote with your wallet, but where exactly can we take our business? 3D printing is often touted as a solution, but I challenge anybody to find STL files that aren't tied to existing intellectual properties. The selection is paltry to say the least, and the prices are often just as exorbitant as Games Workshop's, and that's just the files. Try finding simple historical miniatures on these websites. It's a daunting task, and let's not forget the extra work and upfront costs involved in 3D printing, not to mention the health concerns that come with it. As somebody who 3D prints, I can confidently say that it's not a viable option for the majority of hobbyists. Thankfully, finally, somebody tells the truth, right? Somebody tells the truth. I agree with you on that one, right? I think the trajectory of the hobby, eventually we will be seeing companies kind of sort of lose themselves, because, like Games Workshop, because 3D printing will become more accessible over time as technology moves on, right? And maybe less expensive. But right now, yeah, it's not a challenge. It's not a challenge to Games Workshop. Do Games Workshop need to shift with the paradigm that's coming? Yes. And if they're not already looking at 3D printing and going, this might be bad in the future, right? This is a bad thing, and whoops, they're going to be able to print. The day is coming, I've said it before, when you can get models of Games Workshop standards at a tenth of the price by going to either your own 3D printer, even though you've put in a lot of money for the 3D printer, or somebody else's 3D printer and simply paying for them to take the STL file and print it off for you. Do you know what I mean? We're getting to that stage. We're nearly getting... And by the way, once you've gotten that STL file, what you're not saying here, by the way, if I want a squad of Grey Knights, I have to go pay £37.50 every time I want a squad of Grey Knights. If I want a squad of Grey Knights with a 3D printer, I need to pay £40 odd for the STL file once. And then I can print out as many as I bloody well like. You know what I mean? So there is a bit of disparity here in what you're saying. But yeah, I get what you're saying in terms of right now it's not an option for most people. Yeah, with you on that one. But I hear the optimist in my head saying, don't worry, there's print on demand for 3D prints. But unfortunately, the prices of those services make Games Workshops look like a bargain. It's no wonder that print on demand hasn't really taken off. To be honest, I agree with some of Games Workshop staff who say that 3D printing isn't a real threat to their business. The reality is that most of the things being printed, even through on-demand services, are still tied to the Games Workshop ecosystem. They're mostly proxies for their games, which means that hobbyists are locked into the Games Workshop universe. This also includes one-page rules. I don't know. No. One-page rules is its own game. It's got nothing to do with Games Workshop. It's literally its own game. It's its own game system. Right? It literally... Alright, there are proxies in there that look like, you know, what you get in 40k, but it's not... The game is a different game, right? You can buy models and play them in one-page rules and never look at 40k ever again if you want to. It even has its own lore now. So, you know, let's not be silly. Let's not go overboard. Okay? But in terms of what you're saying, I don't think... Okay. I think what you're doing right now, your entire argument is based on what's happening currently. Right now. This second. And right now, I agree with you. Right? 3D printing isn't a real threat to Games Workshop's market share right now. I agree. But will it be in 5 to 10 years' time? You bet your ass it will. You come back to me in 5 to 10 years' time, and we'll have a little conversation, and you'll say I was right. Right? Because Games Workshop is scrabbling and panicking because they approach the issue with the same arrogance they approach every issue when it comes to their consumers, because they think you're captive and they think you've not got any power in the relationship with them when you do. Right? When you do. Speaking of which, let's do some quick maths to put things into perspective. Okay. As of writing, One Page Rules has 31,315 members on their Patreon. Assuming the most optimistic scenario, where every member is on their most popular tier of $10, approximately £7.50 a month, we can estimate that their yearly earnings. This works out to around $3,757,800, approximately £2,865,673 per year from their Patreon. Now, let's compare this to Games Workshop's earnings. No, let's not. Right? I will read the rest of this, but you are cherry picking numbers, right? And to make your point. Do you know what I mean? Let's read the rest of this. Now let's compare this to Games Workshop's earnings. In June 2024 alone, Games Workshop earned approximately $182 million US. To put this into perspective, Games Workshop's monthly earnings are roughly 80 times more than OPR's estimated yearly earnings, and it's not even remotely close to comparable. Okay, this is the harsh reality that applies to every other company in the industry. They simply can't compete with Games Workshop's massive scale and resources. The 3D printing industry in particular is heavily reliant on Games Workshop's ecosystem, as I said before. This means that even companies that want to try to innovate and offer alternative products are still tied to Games Workshop's intellectual property and customer base. Okay. Alright. I kind of get what you're trying to say, in that no matter what happens, Games Workshop kind of wins. But comparing the revenue of OPR to Games Workshop is it's not so much done in poor taste, it's a silly thing to do. It's kind of stupid, right? OPR is not trying to compete with Games Workshop. OPR is trying to present a company that's making money. And in terms of what their overheads will probably be, I would say making nearly $4 million a year is a successful company. Right? It is. In any way, shape, or form. That is a successful company. If their production costs are under $2 million, which I would suspect they are, considering what they do and how they do it, it should be way underneath that, let's be honest. But let's be kind and say their operating profits, after everything's taken away, is around $2 million. That is a wildly successful small company. Okay? So saying that they're not successful compared to Games Workshop is idiotic. Right? Because for the market share that OPR are going for, they're just as successful as Games Workshop. Do you know what I'm saying? Literally. Games Workshop's market share, they should be earning way more than that. Games Workshop should be earning way more than that. Way, way more. Okay? And let's not look into this as well. What are Games Workshop's actual profits every year? You may say, yeah, okay, $182 million. Okay, fine. Okay, cool. Their actual operating profits every year are around £50 million. Literally, go and look at the annual report. Their actual profits at the end of the year are around 50 to 60 million pounds. After everything's taken away, they're left with 50 to 60 million pounds. So Games Workshop's operating costs are wildly above OPR's. Wildly above. Because despite earning all this money, of that $182 million they earn every single month, right? You've got to take away around $160 million in operating costs. That's how much it costs to keep the company running. To be paid out to shareholders. To pay for the staff. To pay for the rent. To pay for materials. Advertisement space that they don't really use. Right? Servers. Rent on massive areas, industrial areas that they rent out. Okay? Artists. Studio workers. All of these things cost money. And so, in terms of who's more successful as a company, right now, on the figures you've given me, dude, there is an argument to say OPR are more successful. Because they keep more of the money they make. Do you know what I'm saying? They will be keeping a lot more of the percentage of the money that they make than Games Workshop keeps. So your whole point falls down. Like it just crumbles. Right there. You've picked out numbers to try and, push your argument out there, and I respect that, but it doesn't compute. Because Games Workshop, in terms of what they actually take home and they make, You know, in terms of profitability, they earn around 50 to 60 million pounds a year, right? In terms of their yearly report. Okay. So in terms of OPR, they make nearly $4 million a year. Nearly $4 million a year in terms of what they make. Let's take out operating costs, and let's be very generous to you and say it's $2 million. I don't think it is. I don't think it's anywhere near that. But let's say it is. They're still making nearly $2 million a year. That's enough to pay for 10 to 20 really good staff members who can then exponentially grow the company going forwards. OPR are a healthier company than Games Workshop, despite Games Workshop being a massive conglomerate. I would much rather buy into OPR than Games Workshop with these numbers. Alright? Because the operating overheads are much smaller and the range for profit is much bigger. So let's now frame this in terms of future. The reason why people say Games Workshop need to be concerned about 3D printing, right? Is because Games Workshop are making money right now. Yeah, they're making 50, 60 million pounds a year. They could reinvest that in other things, no problem, right? But in terms of the grand scheme of things, that's not a grand amount of money. If they start losing market share to anybody, they are in serious trouble. And I mean anybody. If somebody like OPR starts growing like they could, with that kind of money sloshing around in their bank accounts, if they start growing, Games Workshop are in trouble. I would not invest in Games Workshop. I wouldn't. Okay? You know, you're making money. You might make some money with Games Workshop, but in the grand scheme of things, unless they change their course direction in how they treat their fans and the way that they treat their competition, their growing competition base in 3D printing, unless they change those two areas, this company is going one way, and it isn't up. Alright? We're already seeing profits kind of start to level out. Right? After the pandemic. So again, be very careful about the numbers you bring into these conversations. Be very, very, very careful. Because, again, I've just taken the numbers you've given me, extrapolated, gone, okay, well, how much of money are Games Workshop actually taking home? 50 odd million. Okay. How much money are OPR going to be taking home? Around 2 to 2.5 million. I'd much rather be a part of OPR. It's a smaller team, right? More focused on a really good product. A lot of goodwill in the community for what they do. And it's a company with almost limitless growth opportunities. It really is. And they are a company who are at the spearhead of the main competition that's coming around the corner for Games Workshop. They just are, dude. They just are. Right? And they're only one spearhead, by the way. There are other bigger companies than OPR that you could have picked to do this with better results financially that you could have done this with. So again, cherry picking. Be very careful. Alright. One thing I do agree with you on is that people are kind of captive to the intellectual customer base of Games Workshop. Yeah, I get that. They built the house, dude. We're living in it. You know? I'm sure you're all tired of hearing me complain and rant by now, but I hope this can serve as a wake-up call to the reality of the situation. The truth is, we're in this mess because we've allowed it to happen. I'm not saying we did it intentionally. Nobody deliberately sets out to create a problem. It's more like we've stumbled into it, and now we are face first in the mess. I've been thinking about potential solutions to the problems I've outlined, and I have 2 ideas in mind. Okay, right, I love this. Somebody who actually brings something to the table. I like it. All right. What are you going to say? The first solution seems unlikely, but it's worth considering. The hobby needs a direct competitor to Warhammer. Something that can match Games Workshop's scale and influence. However, I'm sure that this is a tall order, and it's unlikely that a new company could emerge to challenge Games Workshop's dominance. Yeah, I mean, if one was, dude, it'd be something like Star Wars, Star Wars Legion, and it doesn't. You know? If Star Wars and Disney can't do it, what chance did a new company you really have? But again, I don't think you need to challenge Games Workshop's dominance with one company. I think it could be a selection of companies that embrace 3D printing as their main modus operandi for getting models out there. If you have that, then you kill Games Workshop with bug bites. Instead of like having one big other behemoth there slapping them on the head, You do a much more healthy thing in that you have a lot of stores, a lot of like businesses offering a similar product at a much cheaper price that is valued to the consumer, and people will then vote with their wallets as those games become more popular, right? Again, you don't kill the bear by just sicking another bear on it. You can kill the bear by just firing a gun into it every now and again, you know, and that's what these things are. That's what these little businesses are. They are slowly chipping away. The more that are out there that are doing a good service. Sorry for all bear enthusiasts out there. Didn't mean to. Anyway, the second solution may sound extreme, but I believe it's worth considering. Games Workshop needs to be dismantled from the ground up. Okay, we're now in Fantasyland. The company's current structure and business practices are unsustainable and are harming the hobby as a whole. By burning it to the ground and allowing something new to grow from the ashes, we may be able to create a more sustainable hobby. In short, we're in this mess because we've allowed it to happen, and a lot of us have refused to take responsibility for changing it. Instead, we are waiting for a miracle to save us. But the truth is, nobody's coming to rescue us. The only person who can fix your problems is you. Sincerely, Benji. I need a girlfriend and a new hobby. Oh, dude. Well, yeah. Okay, so what you've done there, dude, you've said we need to fix it ourselves, and then the solutions you brought up are literal pie in the sky. Never gonna happen. So, that was useless. Like I'm sorry, yeah, but you shouldn't be saying, oh, well, we need to sort it out ourselves. So, we need to either sort it out by creating a direct competitor to Games Workshop, which you've already said is unsustainable in your own points, by the way, and it can't be done, right? Or, we need to just destroy Games Workshop. Dude, neither of those two things are going to happen. Right? I've offered you the solution. 3D printing is coming. It's already here, but it's coming in a way that it's going to be more sustainable for people going forwards and more affordable and safer over the next 10, 15 years. We're already starting to see it with more 3D printers being rolled out and more affordable prices that are, you know, not plug and play, but, you know, very much easier to handle. If those prices continue to come down and even if they don't, can you imagine being a company with several really, really capable sculptors and several really, really, really good engineers when it comes to 3D printing, right? You could make bank, and if you make bank on a really good game idea, you are taking direct market share away from Games Workshop. Those are people who are spending their money with you rather than with Games Workshop. If you have a couple of hundred worldwide companies that are like that, all of a sudden Games Workshop are taking a massive hit. Okay, that's where the hobby is going right now. And anyway, that's what I think. Moving on. James says, hello sir, hello James. Big fan of the channel, and I've recently been steadily working my way through all of the cringe and hilarious hobby nightmare videos. Good lad. I don't have a hobby nightmare to share myself, although my tale with 40k might be worth sending in one day. This email is to ask for some help for my friend who's in the process of opening his own hobby shop in Hexham, Newcastle. Good lad. Hexham, Newcastle. Good lad. Listening to your views on how Games Workshop have killed the in-store experience, I'd love to get some ideas or insights on what you think could make this shop a success in the 40k D&D or Magic the Gathering crowd. You'd be welcomed in with open arms to run a tournament of your own in the store, or just pop in for a Yorkshire tea, or a pint, it's Newcastle after all, and a friendly narrative battle. I appreciate you're a busy guy, but all the feedback would be greatly appreciated. Thanks for all you do, James. Give me the name of the store in Hexham. I'm gonna look up to see if there is one, because I go to Newcastle a lot. Well, not a lot, but I do go to. So Hexham, Newcastle, hobby store. Let's have a look. Is it Mr. Wolf? It might be Mr. Wolf. Let's see. I don't know. I don't know. I will definitely pop in. If you give me the store name, I will definitely pop in. And dude, let me advertise your business. Like, come onto the channel. Give me some stuff that I can throw out there for your business. No problem. And I'll get it out there and advertise your store. Anyway, in terms of I can't really comment on Magic the Gathering because I don't play it. So, But in terms of D&D, having a dedicated space with low lighting is essential. Don't have people come into your store and play D&D on a central table in front of everybody. Put them off to the side in a nice corner. Maybe even seclude it with bookshelves. That's an amazing... I saw one store do that. It was an amazing idea. They got loads of really old books on bookshelves and enclosed the D&D area with those shelves. And it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. Because it was and they lowered down the lighting in that part of the store, put candles in there, and you've got this amazing atmosphere to go and play D&D, and it was fantastic. And that's a really good idea. If you've got another room you can go somewhere for D&D, that would also be great. Run your own campaign setting in the store. That's a really good way of doing D&D. Fantastic. Have your own in-house GMs. Like go out and canvas for dungeon masters that you can pay. Say, look, I'll give you 30 quid, right? And you can come in 30 quid a week, and you come in and you run a fantastic D&D session, right? Maybe even in store credit. I'll give you 30 quid in store credit if you come in and you run a fantastic D&D session. And you'll get people coming in who are dedicated and are able to do it. That's a good way to do it as well. It means that you're not chopping and changing the lineup. You've got 2 or 3 dungeon masters or game masters who are around, who are on the roster, who can come in and run good games for you. Expand beyond D&D. So make D&D your flagship game. Sure, it's going to sell more. But make sure you're doing things like Vampire the Requiem and, other things like that are really, really, really popular. Zweihander, another good one. Another good game that people should be playing. Broaden your horizons, but make sure that there's a dedicated space for it and the ambiance is right, okay? The ambiance has to be right. And hot beverages. There should always be hot chocolate on the go, teas, coffees, hot beverages should always be on the go at role-playing. So you can chill out and have a nice time with your mates. In terms of the winter, marshmallows, mate. Marshmallows and hot chocolate. It just gets people going. They love it. They love it. And come in. And maybe if you want to charge for them, give them that free drink when they come in. You know what I mean? For D&D. Because they're going to be there for a while. They should have free drink. Or one or maybe 2. In terms of 40k, 6x4 tables are a must. Don't be doing smaller tables than that. And if you do smaller tables than that, then make sure you're only populating them with very small armies. I would make sure you're doing around a 1,500 to 2,000 points limit on most battles. And you put like a time limit on battles as well. That would be a good way to get people into the store and then have them play their game and then give the table to somebody else. Don't allow table hogging. It's really annoying. If you have people in your store who are really loud, take them aside, tell them to tone it down. I'm sorry. A lot of people are going to go, why are you spoiling my fun? You're spoiling my... Why can't I shout wah all over the place? Shut your face. Shut your face. Got people in here who are trying to, 1, read the rule books, do some painting, do some shopping, talk to their friends, talk to the staff, get involved with the hobby. They don't need you fat lard arse, over there at the table. For the chaos god. All the time, alright? Get a wash and shut your face. Or get out my store, right? And don't be like that with them. That's just me being annoyed because I know what these people are like, alright? Tone that shit down. There is nothing that will get you less new customers than me walking into a store and having someone all the time, right? I don't need an orangutan jumping over a table because he rolled a 6 on a d6, right? Do you know what I'm saying? Try and tone that down. Have those people pull the energy down a little bit. You can enjoy your games, man, and laugh and joke and do what you want, but it shouldn't be all the time, and you shouldn't be constantly shouting quotes from different things are going on. We had a hobby nightmare, not really a hobby nightmare, but a manager complaining about that yesterday on yesterday's video. Oh my god, right? Cringe. Don't allow that in your store, alright? It said store that is for adults, right? And you can have kids in there, sure, but like, you need to act responsibly. Have a campaign setting just like you do in D&D for the 40k crowd. Have your own world or your own sector and build out from there with lore and planets and campaigns and tournaments and all sorts of stuff, okay? Make sure that the prizes for your tournaments are good prizes. You own a hobby store. You can literally give away stock if you want, alright? It should be a £50 voucher at least for a first place finish in a tournament, in my opinion, right? And that will get more people in because they want to win that prize, right? They want a chance of winning that prize, and also they want to play a lot of games, okay? Make sure that you examine your 40k crowd. Make sure you know who it is. If it's a bit too competitive and you're getting a bit too many people coming in and playing for blood, take the lads aside and have a little word with them. Never ever be afraid of having a consultation with your hobby base. They will respect you a lot for it, and the ones who don't can piss off and go elsewhere, right? Those people you don't want in your store anyway. The adults in the room who are capable of taking in information and acting like adults, those are the dudes you want in your store. Absolutely. Those are the dudes you want in your store, and take them aside if it's a bit too competitive and say, listen lads, I need casuals to pay me bills, okay? I need more of you to step up and start playing with newer people and to stop taking lists that are going to blast them off the table at the top of turn 2. I'll tell you what I'll do, and always compromise. I know it's your space, but always compromise. Say, listen lads, once a month I'm going to do a Blood for All tournament, which is absolutely bring the most broken thing you can, right? Go for it. And there'll be a really good set of prizes there, and it'll be just for the veterans, just for you guys, right? I'll even open the store late when it's not normally open, and you can have the store to yourselves. Wouldn't that be cool? Do things like that. If you go to hobbyists, to dudes who are really competitive and really involved in 40k, if you offer them something, and you're willing to say, listen, this is your place too, let's build it together, they will bend over backwards for you, man. They will accept that. If you say, listen, what they don't accept is you going, leave my store because I don't like competitive players. No. Find some time for them to do their thing. But then say, here's the conditions. I'm going to give you these nice things, but on the flip side, when those nice things aren't happening, as in it's not your night, you play friendly games with friendly people in narrative games, right? That's what you do. Dude, I don't know if any competitive gamer would be like, no, that's for gays. You know, no, I don't know anybody who'd do that, right? I don't know anybody who'd do that. Yeah, so that's what I would do if I was running your store. And make sure you've got a good stock in there as well. And make sure you, dude, I cannot stress this enough, make sure you honor your orders, all right? I've had about 5 or 6 different stores, Hobby Nightmares, come in where they people place an order and it doesn't turn up, or Games Workshop mess them around. Dude, that's the cost of doing business with Games Workshop. Sorry. Honor your orders, and if you can't, give them the money back. Alright? And needless to say, alright? That's what I would do. Anyway. But yeah, I'd love to come. So yeah, Hexham, Newcastle. I'm there when you want me. Newcastle is amazing for going out for a drink. There's a rock club there, and but it's right. The rock pub we went to, it was New Year's Eve, so it's going to be, but it was so full of like good-looking, big titty goth women that even my missus was passing comment, going, Jesus Christ, look at all these, you know? Yeah, brilliant. So yeah, we will be there. Matt says, "Hi North, I have just finished listening to the story of Sun and his defective self-depreciative. Sorry, I'm gonna self-depreciative. What am I talking about? So Matt says, "Hi North, I've just finished listening to the story of Sun and his deflective, self-deprecating humour, relating to negative mindset and his spiral towards self-deletion. It brought up some negative but reflective thoughts I had nearly 10 years ago. Around that time, I had been married for the better part of 2 years and was fully employed and earning enough to be more than comfortable. One thing was missing though. A family. We were informed early on in our marriage by fertility experts that the chances of us naturally having children were incredibly slim, even to the point that IVF may not be successful. Me and my wife are both from large families with multiple siblings. The thought of being childless, given our desire for a large family, was a massive blow. Yet I was unable to deal with said news. I had to support my wife through this heartbreak. That was the mindset I had at the time and how I was raised. Well, you're raised right, dude. You were raised right. Sometimes you gotta do some man shit. Right? Sometimes you gotta do some... Your woman needs you, right? She comes first. You put down what you're doing and you go and sort it out. You go and sort the shit out of it. That's what you do. At the time, I was well invested in Warhammer and video gaming. I was a regular attendee at our local shop, attended multiple narrative events, and generally classed as one of the guys in said group. Yet, I felt pretty unfulfilled. I allowed these negative feelings to fester and did not deal with them. They bleached all my enjoyment out of the hobby which I loved, and I found myself in a negative death spiral of anguish, self-hatred, and miserly emotions. Yet I dared not share these feelings with my partner. Yeah, I understand that, man. Yeah, that's rough. I could not bear to share these thoughts with her. I willed myself to not be the bearer of said pain we both shared. It all came to a head. After some negative instances at work, nearly coming to blows with one of the managers about my lack of enthusiasm for the job, I allowed said negative thoughts, my lack of love for the world, and even contemplation of self-deletion to take root. I broke down, first to my wife, then to my family, and they had absolutely no idea. It was a shock to my system, but the one that I needed. I was given a number for a crisis helpline and got in contact with a cognitive behavioural therapist, who helped me identify the source of my woes and signed off from work with acute depression. It was a hard and long road to recovery, but one thing they advised me to do was the following. Keep a diary. Write one thing that you did each day that you're quite proud of, and one thing that you used to enjoy. I used the hobby to do something I used to enjoy, and worked on myself and the house I loved. I made lovely meals, landscaped the garden, and went to Warhammer World once per week and painted in the main hall. I went to Bugman's Bar and read a book, and visited the museum regularly, getting to know the staff rather well. Through strangers coming over to see me paint by myself, absorbed in my work and asking why I was a regular visitor, I was able to share my story with them, if they were willing to listen. I will not lie, it read like a Greek tragedy to some, but others had similar heartaches, and hearing how I was coping and my new appreciation for life and positive mental attitude helped them. It also helped me. I was not alone, and I made some good friends along the way. Slowly but surely, my love for the hobby returned. I made contact with friends I had grown estranged from throughout my own self-ignorance, and my marriage steadily improved. By a miracle, and I will say miracle, we have a beautiful 4-year-old daughter. Dude, mazel tov. If you've got a drink, and you're listening to this right now, even if it's not alcoholic, raise it up. Ugh. Well done, sir. Well done. Although with complex medical issues, I will not divulge. Dude, she's there. That's the main thing. That is the main thing. Yeah, you're knocking it out of the park. We are frequently asked, how do we stay so positive for the future? Even when life throws you such curveballs, how can we even smile? The answer is simple. Talk to each other. Keep moving forwards, and always remember, no matter how hard things can get, always look for the light in the darkness, even when all other lights go out. It is okay to have bad thoughts, but not healthy to keep them to yourself. Never be afraid to talk, but know your audience. Be honest to yourself and others, and try and find something to love in your life. Anyhow, that is my mantra. I'm in a good place regardless of COVID. Ongoing hospital stays and multiple car breakdowns in the last year, I remain plucky and positive, if a little cheesed off with garage bills. Keep doing what you're doing, and hope someone finds this very useful. As ever, the Emperor protects. Matt. Cheers, dude. And do you know what happened there? Do you know what happened there? There are some times when you need to give yourself a break. And what I mean by that is, you carried on going to work. And I'm never normally somebody who says, dude, stop working. Your job's not the main issue right now, and it's just going to cause issues. But this is one of those times. Right? If you're at the end of your tether, this hustle culture needs to go away, right? It really does. No job is worth your happiness, right? No job is worth your happiness. I would rather be broke and living at home than miserable at a job I hate. You know what I mean? And if I'm going through some of the main mistakes I've made in life and some of the worst things that have happened in my life in terms of depression have been when I've had severe depression or I've had something severe going on with my mental health. And I haven't just said, you know what, I need to take a break here. I need to take a break here. I've got some savings. I need to take those and go and take a break, right? The one time I did that was when I came back from the States. I came back from the States and I set things in order to get teaching work. Do you know what I mean? I did things, right? But I took a good 6-7 months when I got back. I had savings. I had about 10 grand in the bank, whatever it was at the time, right? That I'd saved when I was in the States, working and doing other things, right? And I lived off of that. I helped my grandpa out with it. I put money into his house. I put money into his food and his care. And I looked after him. So that money's now gone. But at the same time, listen, at the time, I had lost my relationship, my long-term relationship. I had lost all prospect of having a family because obviously I'm now single. So what else am I going to do with it, right? I may as well put it into people that I love and put a small amount of it away, but use the rest of it. And so I did. I took time off. I said, no, I'm not getting a job over the summer. I'm not doing anything. I'm going to go running, and I'm going to go read, and I'm going to go open myself up and try and figure out what the hell is going on in my own head. I'm going to get myself a therapist. I'm going to sit down and talk to them. I'm going to make sure that I'm reconnecting with friends. And you know what? One of those friends that I reconnected with, I'm now living with. We're now in a long-term relationship, and things are going incredibly well, right? All the building blocks for what the life I have now, which I love to pieces, right? Those all started in that period where I looked at work and said, nah, not right now. Not right now. You can't do everything at once. And the one thing, sadly, that you can probably cut out your life is your job. I know it sounds really bad, but the one thing in life, sadly, most of you can say, I could probably not work for a good couple of months and get my life sorted out, is your job. You could. You could. It'd be scary. It'd be scary. And you'd need to be careful and put irons in the fire so that you've got a means of income down the road, Maybe get your CV out there, your resume, right? Start getting job offers. Like, one thing a friend of mine is doing that is incredibly clever, right? Is that he is leaving his current role. But what he's going to do, he's going to get another job, right? And then tell them he's not available for a good 2 or 3 months. Right? Because he works in a sector where he can do that, right? And as soon as he gets that job, he's quitting. And he's taking 2 or 3 months off. He's doing absolutely nothing in that time, apart from go get a therapist, use some of his savings to travel, have go and sort himself out so he's ready for his new job when he comes back, right? And if you have the means to do that, go and do it. If you're facing trouble, because you've just seen it in this hobby nightmare here, right? You've just seen it. Matt was facing some serious issues, went and got himself signed off of work, and sorted his shit out, and now he's back at work doing well. He's killing it. He's killing it, right? Same thing happened to me. I took 6 or 7 months, and these days, I still look at those 6 or 7 months as, hard months, because they were. And I don't like going back too much and thinking about where I was at that time, because I had so much ahead of me that I had to work through. But the building blocks of what I have now started then. It all started then. Even the channel started then. So that's what I would do. most of the time, I've said it before, the one thing most of you can afford to do if you're in a crisis situation like this is look at your job and go, yeah, not right now, dude. Not right now. Not right now. Be responsible. Be responsible, right? Try and get yourself signed off so you're still getting paid at least a little bit. Maybe look for another job and tell them that you can't start for a good couple of months, but you're the ideal candidate, right? Stuff like that. Get irons in the fire. At the very least, get irons in the fire. You know, get your CV out there, get applying for the jobs, and then quit the one you're in, and go, listen, I need to sort myself out, right? Because burning the candle at both ends only ends with a spent candle, and you don't want to be that. You do not want to be that. And it's much easier to just get another job than it is to get another brain. I'll leave you with that. I love you a long time. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and I'll speak to you on Monday, where we're going to be talking. I'm not sure what we're doing on the stream this Monday. Sorry, this Sunday, sorry. Yeah, Sunday, not Monday. I apologise. Yeah, I'll see you on Sunday. And I'm not sure what we're going to be doing on the stream. We will be doing a hobby showcase, of course. And then on Monday, we'll be doing a massive stream. Why? Because Space Marine is out. Oh, yeah. And we'll be playing all the way through that on the channel. So I love you all a long time. I'll speak to you then. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And I'll speak to you soon. Have a good one. Bye now.